Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Jim Howell. I'm Chairman of the Sedgwick County Commission, and welcome to the Commission meeting today. Welcome everyone in the audience and on TV. We also stream this online, and you can always watch these meetings on YouTube after the fact on our website, sedgwickcounty.org. Anyway, welcome and thank you for being here this morning. We have a very busy meeting planned today. Some of the items today we have on the agenda. We have a couple of appointments. We do have a traffic safety award we'd like to celebrate. When good things like that happen, we like to obviously celebrate those things. We have a zoning change to consider. We have a household hazardous waste event, I believe in District 1. We'll learn more about that later. We have a couple of solid waste items, a presentation and a resolution, plus we have a fire district meeting today as well. So we have a busy agenda plan today. And with that, I'd like to ask Madam Clerk for the first item, please.
Invocation to be led by Reverend Godfrey Patterson, St. Paul AME Church. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Let us pray. We come today to ask blessings upon this meeting and all who shall participate. Those who are entrusted to make decisions which affect the life of this community. We ask that our focus be on today, for the bygone activities of tomorrow and of yesterday and the anticipated activities of tomorrow. We just want to focus on today. So bless these commissioners, bless each and every person who participates in this meeting, that all that is done will be to the greater good of this community. We pray in the name of the Almighty. Amen and amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I want to say thank you to Reverend Patterson for being here today. By the way, this is one of our wonderful staff members, Carol Cole. We love her. She's a fantastic person for the commissioners, keeps us effective in doing our job well. So thank you for Carol Cole. But Reverend Patterson, you are her pastor, so I just wanted to share that and with the audience. We thank you for being here today, and thank you for that nice prayer this morning. I do need to call the meeting to order, so I would like to call the meeting to order for the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners for the date of Wednesday, June the 8th, 2016. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Roll call. Commissioner Unruh.
Present.
Commissioner Norton.
Present.
Commissioner Peter John.
Present.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Present.
Chairman Howell.
Present. All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Public information announcements.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jill Tinsley filling in for Kate Flavin today. We're excited. We'll be at Riverfest tomorrow night for Touch a Truck. It begins at 5 o'clock and runs through 8:30 p.m. That is sponsored by Cake TV, so we're honored to be a part of that. It's a great opportunity for the kids to come out and climb all over our fire trucks, our EMS ambulances, run the sirens, and honk the horns. So it's a great opportunity. Also, tomorrow night at 7 p.m., we'll also be at Riverfest at the Kennedy Plaza. There we'll have a special tribute to some employees of Sedgwick County's Public Safety Division. So that'll be a great opportunity to come out and hear about these wonderful employees and all they accomplished in the past year. I'd also like to remind you that Monday, June 13th, we're having a special Board of County Commission meeting out in District 4. So that'll be at Park City in their City Hall. So come join us at 6:30 p.m. for that special County Commission meeting. Thank you.
One question on that, Jill. On that meeting Monday, this coming Monday, the meeting starts at 6:30. But is there a meet and greet on this one at 6 o'clock?
Yes. Everyone is welcome to come out at 6 o'clock and just speak with each of you commissioners. So you'll be available to talk to the public.
So commissioners will all be there at 6 o'clock, and we're ready to talk to people. That's wonderful. Thank you for the information this morning.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Public agenda.
All right. Do we have anyone signed up to speak this morning? All right. See, now, just to let you all know, we do have a couple of items of business. We will certainly ask for public comment during item E on the zoning change and also during the fire district as well. So you'll have a chance to speak later on if you don't want to do that now. So having no one signed up to speak this morning, we'll go ahead to the next item, please.
Consideration of minutes. Item A, regular meeting minutes of May 11th, 2016. All commissioners were present.
Commissioners, what's the will of the board?
I move we approve the minutes for the regular meeting of May 11, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw,
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. All right, next item, please.
Appointments. Item B, resolution appointing Tonya Buckingham, Board of County Commission appointment to the alternate elected official position of the Sedgwick County Grievance Board.
Mr. Chairman, actually items B and C are both appointments to that grievance board. Item B is the appointment of Tonya Buckingham to the alternate elected official position, and item C is the appointment of Susan Erlenwine to the department head position. The paperwork all appears to be in order, and I would urge adoption of these two resolutions.
Very good. What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt the resolution for items B and C.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw,
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. And just a question: do we need to swear them in or any type of?
Not yet. I mean, I
Not
don't
yet.
think there's any indication that they're going to be here today
Okay.
to do that.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and go on to the next item then.
New business. Item D, AAA Kansas Community Traffic Safety Award presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Howell, members of the Commission. Appreciate the opportunity to be here to present this award again. First, I'd like to recognize the Kansas Department of Transportation, who plays a critical role in our award program. They help us identify possibly deserving traffic safety police departments and sheriff's departments around the state of Kansas, and then they make application for the award. So without the Kansas Department of Transportation, Troy Wells here representing them today, the program would not be possible. So I really appreciate KDOT in this. It marks the third year in a row that the Sedgwick County Sheriff has qualified for a AAA Traffic Safety Award. They've done so by obtaining and using community input from a traffic safety committee comprised of multiple organizations that meet bi-monthly to identify traffic safety problems and formulate solutions. They're also recognized for their support and participation of a highly successful Kansas teen seatbelt program called SAFE, and they operate this in Valley Center, Goddard, Derby, and Cheney schools very successfully. And also for the work that they did with the media for selective enforcement, and for the education work they do with the DARE program and with the senior centers with I-Bullying, a program that works on crime prevention. And they're also being recognized for the emergency medical services work with their traffic incident management program, and also for their high visibility enforcement efforts with the DUI check lanes, the saturation patrols, cops on rails, nighttime seatbelt enforcement, click it or ticket, and special traffic enforcement efforts. And then in engineering, they're also recognized for their work with county engineers for traffic flow and control. They're one of only 9 sheriff departments in the state of Kansas to qualify for a traffic safety award, and so it's a real pleasure. I want to thank First Lieutenant Randy Cole, who did a fine job on their application, and it's a real pleasure for me to be able to present the award this morning to Colonel Richard Powell on behalf of the men and women of the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office. So if we could do that. Colonel, congratulations.
Thank you, Jim.
After the picture, we'll ask Colonel Powell if he wants to say anything here this morning. All right.
Good morning, Commissioners. Colonel Richard Powell with the Sheriff's Office. On behalf of Sheriff Jeff Easter and the women and men of the Sheriff's Office, we certainly do appreciate the recognition received by the AAA organization. It would, without fail, without all of the partners we have the relationships we have and the various stakeholders in the program all make this really successful on a regular, ongoing basis. It's always a privilege, certainly, to be recognized, but at the same time, we recognize in the field that even though we hate to tell people that you have to wear your seatbelt, you have to pay attention to the rules of the roadway and things like that, the bottom line is we save lives. And that's what it's all about. And again, without our partners, without the honestly, some of the funding that we receive for these programs and the diligence of our staff, that's what makes these things possible. So we thank, again, the organization, and thank you for your support, Commissioners, also.
Thank you. I think we have some comments or questions from Commissioners. So thank you for your comments, Colonel Powell.
Yes, sir.
I think I'll recognize Commissioner Peter John.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly want to commend AAA, the Sheriff's Office, and KDOT, and delighted to be able to be in a position where we receive this award. And Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Before we vote, I just wanted to say I'm really proud of our Sheriff's Department. I think they're the best of the best of the best. I love what they do. They are, I think, some of the best people in this community. They do a fantastic job. I've had the chance to ride with them earlier this year. I spent a shift with them and just saw the professionalism that they use. They're very brave. They do things that I wouldn't want to do. I saw them in action. I just am really proud of the folks that we have in our Sheriff's Department, especially today. So thank you for the recognition this morning. And with that, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peter John?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransall?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. I think Mr. Haney has something else he wants to
I
say.
was just going to say, I wanted to thank you all for the support and the leadership that you provide them, because we see that happening with departments around the state, and it's really important, and you should be recognized as well. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Haney.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item E, zone change from general commercial to rural residential on property located south of West 39th Street South and east of Lake Afton.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Scott Knable with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. The item before you today is a zone change request from general commercial with protective overlay 160 to RR rural residential on a 7.44 acre unplatted tract located south of 39th Street, immediately east of the Lake Afton Park and south of the law enforcement firearms training facility. It's highlighted in blue with the arrow pointing to it on the map in the pink color. All of the surrounding properties are also zoned rural residential, which is the requested zoning classification. The property has been used in the past as a restaurant and event center. That business is no longer in place, and the new owners are using it as their personal residence and are requesting zoning to match that. You can see the aerial. The building is located in the northwest corner of the site. Most of the site is a large rural lot. The area is outside any of the urban growth areas of any of the cities in the area, the nearest being Garden Plain and Goddard. This is the structure itself. As nobody would be surprised in looking at this picture, the business that was located there was called the Red Barn, which is what it is. This is the firearms training facility located immediately across 39th Street to the north. There's the sign for the business that's still in place. This is the types of residential uses that are in the area: large lot, single family homes, and then Lake Afton located west of the site. The request was heard by the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission on May 5th. They voted 13-0 to recommend approval of the request. The recommended action for the Board of County Commissioners is to adopt the findings of the MAPC and approve the zone change, authorize the chairman to sign the zoning resolution, and then authorize publication of that resolution once it's signed. With that, I'll take any questions you have.
All right. We do have some questions. Commissioner Peter John.
Not so much a question, Mr. Chairman. I'm very familiar with this property in this area, and I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the findings of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and approve the zone change, authorize the chairman to sign the resolution, and authorize the resolution to be published.
Sorry. All right, before we get to voting, I do want to ask, is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I just have one comment. That would be, I did look up the tax situation yesterday on this property, and it looks to me like it is still being classified as a commercial property, even though it's being used as a residential property. And I understand that commercial property has the option to be used as residential property, so there's no problem to do that. I think our appraiser's office ought to be classifying the properties on how they're being utilized, not necessarily on how they're previously zoned. And so I don't know if this is really a necessary action. I'll certainly support it, but I'm afraid down the road that this action may limit the opportunities for this family, whoever the current owner is. It limits their opportunities down the road in terms of saleability. I think we're reducing the value of this because it has less ways the property can be used once this is done. So I will certainly support it. They're the ones that requested it, if I understand correctly. The owners requested this, so I'd like to certainly support that. But I don't know that it's necessary to change the tax classification from the general commercial to residential. And so anyway, I understand if this is the intent is to lower the tax rate, certainly this will certainly get that done. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item F, contract for a household hazardous waste remote collection event on June 11th, 2016 for TEXTRON Aviation Beechcraft Division in Kansas.
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Erlenwine, Department of Environmental Resources. Sedgwick County has a household hazardous waste facility. It's located at 801 Stillwell. This is a place where citizens can take unwanted oils, paints, gasoline, fluorescent bulbs, even old medications, as long as they're not a controlled substance. So we try to make this convenient to people, but it's open Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 3. In order to better serve our community, we also have remote household hazardous waste collection events. Our next one is this Saturday at TEXTRON BEECHCRAFT Parking Lot E, and that's located on the south side of Central, approximately halfway between Webb and Greenwich Roads. The event will run from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Saturday. So we encourage people to take their unwanted household hazardous waste there. If you have any questions on what you can or cannot bring, you can visit our Sedgwick County website at sedgwickcounty.org or call 660-7464 to help answer any of your questions. TEXTRON BEECHCRAFT has approved the contract that's before you. I'd recommend your approval and for the chairman to sign, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Director Erlenwine. Any comments or questions from commissioners? Commissioner Peterjohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you said that people can bring certain prescription medicines, except those that are controlled substances, could you go into a little bit more detail? And would most prescription medicines be, if they've got outdated medicines, in most cases they could turn it in?
Right. If it was, usually it's the pain control medicines, Loratab, oxycodone, those are the controlled ones that you need. Right now you need a handwritten prescription to take to the pharmacy to get those filled. Those are the ones we cannot take.
Okay.
But the regular over-the-counter and normal prescription medicines, we can take at the remotes.
And they should be disposed that way?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? All right, Commissioners, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the contract.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. All right, thank you.
Thank
Madam
you.
Clerk, next item, please.
Item G, adoption of the June 2016 Sedgwick County Solid Waste Management Plan update.
Again, for the record, Susan Erlenwine, Department of Environmental Resources. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment requires that this county update their solid waste plan every year. This update includes data from the previous year containing to solid waste and also any policy changes or program changes that have occurred. The state requires that we give them information on who collects the trash in our community. Right now we have 18 businesses that collect trash in Sedgwick County. 15 of those collect at the curbside, and there are 3 others that do special projects such as junk cleanouts. So we have that list of the haulers in Table 1 in the plan update. The state also requires information on municipal solid waste disposal, which is a polite way of saying trash, and we have the numbers for how much was generated in 2015. There are 2 privately owned transfer stations that received this trash, and we collected over 392,000 tons in last year. This is a slight increase from the previous year, and you can see from this graph that overall there's been a general downward trend since 2012 and a slight increase since 2014. So it's good that we're cutting back on the amount of trash. And the state requires that we give a pounds per person per day number, so we use the estimated census numbers for each year, and it's again a slight increase from 2015 to 2014 at 4.29 pounds per person per day, which is below the national average. So again, we have a downward trend and it's looking good. Citizens can manage their grass clippings many ways. They can bag it and put it out for the trash. They can mulch mow. They can compost at home, or they can take it to a couple of compost facilities located in our community. You have 2 large compost facilities, Brooks Landfill and Evergreen Recycling, and they receive yard waste from the community, turn it into mulch, and then that's available for citizen again at Evergreen to pick up for a fee. Some small cities also have compost sites. There are 7 cities in our county that actually have sites that citizens can bring the material, it can be composted, and the citizens can pick it up again. So that's ongoing. Also on recycling, there are 4 main recycling facilities that receive our recycled material from the drop-off bins that you might see at the Dillons or other grocery stores like Leakers, or that are working with businesses to collect recycling. We got the numbers from those facilities, and it's over 46,000 tons of recycled material processed in 2015. Looking at that trend, that is down from 2014, and nationally recycling was down last year. The commodity markets were down for recycling, and it looks like it's been a national trend. But what I can say is I've talked to the recycling facilities the beginning of this year, and they're saying the numbers are up from last year. So it looks like it is turning around. The state requires information on specific wastes that might be handled differently from regular trash. One of those wastes is the household hazardous waste. At our facility at 801 Stillwell, we received over 1,196,000 pounds of material in 2015. We received that from over 23,000 participants coming to the facility. So we're quite pleased with the amount of people who come to get rid of their household hazardous waste properly. We also participate in the Drug Take-Back Day, where we can receive those controlled drugs at our facility because we have sheriff's officers there to monitor the drugs coming in. We also work with businesses that generate a small amount of hazardous waste. They can take advantage of our lower disposal costs that we receive through our RFP bid process. And we worked with 283 businesses last year to help them properly dispose of waste material. And we have the swap shop at our facility, and this is where people can come in and pick up material that other residents have brought in that's still in good condition. You can read the label, so these products can be taken off the shelf and taken to their home. What's good about this is the residents save money by not buying the product, and the county's saving money by not having to dispose of it. Last year, we saved over $98,000 through our swap area in saved disposal fees. And we have the remotes, is the one I just mentioned, coming up this Saturday. And last year we had the 5 remotes at TEXTRON BEECHCRAFT, Hayesville, Extension Office, Mays, and Derby. And you can see that we received over 232,000 pounds from over 1,000 participants. So we're quite pleased with the response we're getting to those remote events. The amount of material received at the Household Hazardous Waste Facility is in blue in this graph from the residents. Green is the swap and shop customers and their pounds that they take out, and the red is the small businesses. So you see most of our work is with the residents coming in and dropping off material. And this is the number of customers accordingly. The blues, the HHW, the greens, the swap and shop customers, and the red are the businesses. So it's been pretty constant over time. Another specific waste that the state has us look at is construction and demolition materials. This is materials such as drywall, carpeting, shingling, 2x4s, and it goes to one of 2 construction and demolition facilities. They received over 167,000 tons of material last year. This is a 3.8% decrease from 2014. You can see from this graph that 2014 was much less than 2013. So the amount of construction demolition material has dropped off recently, and that can be due to the economy or a fewer number of large projects going on. We offer through the county a bulky waste coupon program where citizens can get a coupon to receive up to free disposal at either of the transfer stations for 1,000 pounds of material. Last year we issued over 7,000 of those, and 31% was used, which is what we've seen through historic use. People get the coupon thinking, I'm going to use it, but then they don't have the need for it, or they can't find a pickup. But we normally leave the program on for several months to give people an opportunity to use that program. So we'll continue to do that program in the future. We'll also continue to do our Christmas tree recycling. We have 22 sites around the county. 10 of those are in the city of Wichita. Last year we recycled over 3,900 trees. We have a small grinder that converts those into mulch, and then citizens come and pick up the mulch for free at those locations. And I can tell you we constantly get phone calls from citizens saying, is it mulched yet? Can I go get the material? So we never have a problem with getting rid of this material. And something new this year, a special cleanup program that we've started, and we've already have 2 events. One's happened in Oak Lawn Sunview Improvement District. Chairman Howell worked on this with other people to set up a way that the people could take material to the curb. There were a lot of volunteers who would come along and pick up the material and take to dumpsters that were supplied from the county. We also, besides dumpsters, and you can see from the picture there how the dumpsters were really getting used, we had packer trucks that went along the roads and were filled. And in a week's time, we collected over 267,000 pounds of material from this improvement district area. So it was quite successful, and the county helped work on getting rid of this material for those residents. So I think it was a very good success. We're also working with townships to have like neighborhood cleanups in the townships. I've had 3 of those going on in the Salem Township. Minnehaha Township just contacted me to have cleanups there. So we're working to help get our community in better shape by collecting trash, unwanted sofas, tires, refrigerators. Any of those we'll collect through this program. So I think it's turning out to be very successful, and we'll continue this next year. Also, a special waste thing we'll have next year, by the way, we'll have another waste tire roundup in 2017 to help the public. Something that if we all know is important in Sedgwick County is how do we get rid of storm debris. Through high winds, tornadoes, or ice storms, we generate tree debris, branches that can be a problem, and people say, what can I do with it? So to be proactive, the county has purchased a tub grinder that we've already used in the city of Goddard in January. They had damage from an ice storm. We went out there and in 6 hours took care of all of the tree debris that they had collected and mulched it so it was available for the city to use or for citizens to use. So we have the tub grinder to take as portable to help with the storms. We also have an air curtain burner. And in the past, as you can see from the photo on the left, if there was a storm, usually the debris was just burned on the surface. It left a lot of large logs and a lot of ash, and plus created a lot of smoke. With a large storm, we can now take the air curtain burner, have a trench, burn the material. It meets all the EPA requirements. The state approves of this, so it's not going to affect our ozone levels. It creates very little ash. It burns at a higher temperature, and so it's going to be cheaper for the county in the long run to use this system. And the state requires that we review any permits or grants, and we had none last year, but I just wanted to bring that out. That is one of the responsibilities of the Solid Waste Committee to review those, and then it comes to the County Commission. And we also provide public education through giving speeches, luncheons at schools. We have material that we hand out, and of course we have our website that gives information, especially our recycling guides there, so if anyone has questions on where to take material, they can just go to sedgwickcounty.org, look under environmental resources, and determine where material can go. The solid waste fee is voted on by the county commissioners by the end of June every year, and last year the fee was lowered from $6.48 to $4.88 per year per residential property, and accordingly the 5 tiers of the non-residential commercial rates were lowered as well last year. And this is your next item on the commission agenda today, is to review the solid waste fee. But I'll point out this fee is what funds everything I've just talked about, from the household hazardous waste facility to the special cleanup programs, the tub grinder. All of that is funded through this fee. And I recommend that you approve the solid waste plan update, and then we'll send it on to the state, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Director Erlenwine has a great presentation. I'm sure we have a few comments and questions, so we'll recognize commissioners now. Commissioner Norton?
Susan, talk about a tire roundup and e-waste event. Do we have anything planned there? That's always well used by the public, and it certainly cleans up a lot of blighted areas in our community.
That's true. When we had our e-waste event, that was before a lot of the local businesses started taking e-waste in. And in one day, we collected over 1 million pounds of e-waste, which was phenomenal. I mean, and I think I've shown you the photos of trailers of TVs coming in and computers. But since then, there are better options. Instead of us having an e-waste event, there are many businesses that take e-waste, and people can go to our website and look at those under computers or televisions and see where those items can be taken in our community. But tires are another issue that's, as you mentioned, has always been a problem. And we will be having a waste tire roundup event next year. And we'll plan that out at the county west yard like we've had in previous years, and work around their schedule as to when it would fit them best to have the people bring in the tires. We like to have a day for businesses and governments to come in with the large trucks, and then the other days for residents, so we're not having trucks and cars and trailers combined in one area. So they are good programs, they're well received, and we're looking forward to having that next year.
All right, other commissioners? Let me just go ahead. Commissioner Peterjohn.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the annual update for submission to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, and I also appreciated the presentation. I think it gives a good outline in terms of how we're working in this important area, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second.
A motion and a second. Other questions or comments? Let me just say, if somebody wants to get one of those coupons, how would they get one?
We haven't opened it up yet, but what we'll make an announcement. We'll have ad in the paper, and then what we'll do is people can go online or phone a number. They can just sign up online, and we'll mail the coupon to them.
Okay.
And I want people to really notice that there is an expiration date on those, but it's like 3 months in the future, so they have plenty of time to use that.
Very good. Okay. And then I just wanted to make a comment. And we worked very closely together on the Oaklawn Sunview project. It was one that the community initiated the desire to have this, we developed, I guess, a plan. It was unprecedented, I would say. And I'll have to recognize our Public Works Director, David Spears, as well. He also got involved in this a little bit, but it was unbelievable. I should say a little bit. His staff did a tremendous amount of work as well. It was an unbelievable response from the community. In fact, I would say if we extended that program a month or two, it probably would have a continuous flow of stuff to pick up, I would imagine. We cut it off after 2 weeks. We started on a Friday. It went over the first weekend, the entire following week, and then the following weekend just to pick up the materials that were put at the curb. And we had literally hundreds of volunteers involved in doing this, plus some of our Sedgwick County staff had to get involved with some equipment and also folks to help pick up, because it was really overwhelming. And some of the news agencies came out and did a report, unfortunately not a positive report, because we just couldn't pick it up fast enough. And so the reality is this community, I think, of course it's in my district, but this community is especially, it's a difficult community for a number of reasons, but there's a lot of poverty there and a lot of folks that just have limited resources and being able to take care of some of these things. They don't know how to do it. And so we stepped in and did this, and 267,000 pounds of material being picked up is just unbelievable to me.
Well, and I would like to say that you're mentioning the news report, that was after the first weekend, and that's when we started getting the Packer trucks involved after that to make it easier and collect more material, and all of the material was picked up in the end.
Yeah, and I did drive the neighborhoods, a number of times during that week, and I actually got involved personally. I was able to get a lot of volunteers as well, and we donated water, and we got lunch donated. We also had a local business there. The Bomber Burger provided many of the meals for some of our volunteers. Give them a shout out as well, because they donated their food as well. But it's just a tremendous event overall. The Helping Hands ministry here in town was very much involved, as well as the Oaklawn community thrift shop there on Clifton.
Clothing and Stuff.
The clothing, what's it called?
Clothing and Stuff.
Clothing and Stuff is the name of the business there.
Yes.
And so they offered their parking lot and their location for a place for us to base out of. And so just a tremendous amount of volunteer work and investment by a lot of people excuse me, to make this all come together. I just want to say thank you for all you did to make that happen.
You're welcome.
And Commissioner Peterson has other comments.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The chairman was a little bit on the modest side because he played a critical role and was very active in organizing. And when you think about picking up 1,300 tons, over 1,300 tons of debris, but I wanted to also give a shout out because there were county employees who volunteered their time, did a lot of hard work, and I want to point out one in particular because she had really, her office has nothing to do in this area, and that's our Register of Deeds, TONYA Buckingham, but she was down there, worked very hard, and spent a lot of time doing that. So if you wanted to come out and meet elected officials, there were several of them on that location that day, and Commissioner Howell and TONYA and our Register of Deeds, TONYA Buckingham, spent a lot of time working on this project and helping make this happen. So I wanted to get that on the record because Register of Deeds normally they're recording paper and filing documents, and it's a little bit different than you're picking up wood debris or tree limbs or physical manual labor. So I wanted to get that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We certainly hope to keep doing those type of projects in the future.
And I think we did have a lot of lessons learned on what worked well and what didn't work well. So I think we have some changes if we do this again. So we'll certainly reflect on what we did this time and hopefully make that effort more streamlined in the future, hopefully. But I would like to just springboard on what Commissioner Peterson just said, and that is our Register of Deeds, TONYA Buckingham. She did not stand back and serve water. She was out there picking up really bad stuff, and so I have pictures of her doing that, and also her staff. I mean, she brought about half her office out to do this as well, so she was very much involved in this, and I want to thank you for her leadership. So, Commissioners, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, seeing Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ransall,
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item H, adoption of a resolution establishing solid waste fees for 2017.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lorian Showalter Airy, Senior Budget Analyst. Since 2000, Sedgwick County has imposed solid waste fees to provide partial funding for the various programs that Susan just described for you. State law provides that if a county chooses to impose a solid waste fee, it must do so before July 1st for a fee that is to be effective for the following calendar year. The action is before you today imposes the solid waste fee for 2017. That fee varies according to property classifications, with residential property owners paying a fixed amount per dwelling unit, and commercial and industrial property owners paying amounts that are based on the waste generation characteristics for their various particular businesses or parcels of property. The resolution that is proposed for 2017 suggests a range of fees that are identical to those that were established for 2016. The residential fee is $4.88. Tier 1 is $3.44 per parcel. Tier 2 is $4.58 per parcel. Tier 3 is $5.73 per parcel. Tier 4 is $6.87 per parcel. And Tier 5, which are the large multi-use properties such as the malls, is $4.58 times the number of business units within that parcel of property. Those fees, once again, are identical to the current fees, and they'll be collected through the county's property tax bills. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. And if you don't, then I would recommend that you adopt the resolution that is before you.
Very good. Thank you for the presentation. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt the resolution.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Commissioner Norton.
It's probably more for Susan than Lauren, but where do we stand as far as carryover money and monies that we build up in case of ice storms, big debris removal, tornadoes, other events? You know, every year we build that up and then lower the amount, and in some years that carryover has been pretty small, so we had to increase to raise that up. Where do we stand right now, Susan?
You might better be able to answer that, Lorianne, but I will point out that the solid waste fee by state regulation can only be used for solid waste. So anything that's not used in the previous year, you're right, is carried over for future solid waste, and we can draw that down. We also receive funding through some tipping fee at the transfer stations and licensing of those in the C&D landfills. So we have other income as well.
Right now, according to our estimates, the beginning fund balance for 2017 will be $1.12 million.
Do you know if that's consistent with what we've had in the past for that?
Last year, we did draw down about $250,000 of fund balance when we lowered the fees. But with the elimination of the storm debris contingency that was funded out of the fund balance, that was a planned drawdown to bring it down to a little bit lower level.
Thank you.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Yes, Susan mentioned, and this may be a better question for Susan Erlenwine than for you, Lauren. We had the event in Goddard earlier this year. I was curious if we have an idea in terms of what sort of county costs were involved with that event, that storm event, storm debris event, should I call it?
I did not calculate a cost, but I do know that our Public Works West Yard staff went out there and spent 6 hours grinding the material. So I don't, less than 1 day's work on that. That wasn't that bad.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I'll look to our Director of Public Works because his group got a positive mention in the last agenda item, and it looks like they're getting another plug in this agenda item.
Yes.
Mr. Spears?
David Spears, Director of Public Works. We have a work order number on that, just as we do any project we do, so we can get that number for you, but it wasn't an extremely high number or anything like that, and we just wanted to be there and operate the equipment and make sure it was done right.
Well, I have it available for all the communities in the county, and I'm glad it worked out for,
Yes.
in this case, for the folks out in Goddard. Thank you.
And on that note, I have one other follow-up question. Do we actually use the air curtain burner out of that event?
We haven't used it for a storm event yet, but we have used it for some of our stream bank clean out to make sure, keep it running and make sure it's working properly.
Yeah, since it's a kind of a new piece of equipment, I was just wondering if we had any feedback on how great it is. And
Yes, talking to, again, the people from Public Works who have operated storm debris in the past and burning it, they're just amazed at how little smoke there is and how hot the fire is and how little ash is left over. So it is doing a great job.
wonderful. That's good to hear that. Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners or questions? All right, seeing none. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item I, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts, regular meeting on June 2nd, 2016.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Department. The meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts of June 2nd results in 4 items for your consideration. Item number 1 is the 2016 cold in-place recycling for Public Works. And this recommendation is to accept the low bid from Coughlin Company Incorporated in the amount of $880,743.11. Item number 2 is the all-wheel drive articulated center wheel loader for fleet management. Recommendation is to accept the best proposal from Berry Tractor and Equipment Company in the amount of $485,090 and establish contract pricing for labor, parts, and freight for repairs for a period of 3 years. Item number 3 is the on-call carpet services for the Facilities Department, and this recommendation is to accept the bid from Harry Street Carpet LLC at the rates listed for 1 year with 2 one-year options to renew. And the final item, item 4, is the HVAC supplies for Facilities Department, and this recommendation is to accept the overall low bid from Tridem Filter Corporation and establish contract pricing for 1 year with 2 one-year options to renew. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have and recommend approval of all these items.
All right. Thank you so much for the presentation. Commissioners, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the recommendations of the Board of Bids and Contracts.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, Mike Scholes, County Manager, recommend you approve consent agenda items Juliet through Mike.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Peterjohn?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to make a note about the fact that one of the items, item K, involves the agreement with the Board of County Commissioners and Kansas Humane Society so the wolf stock can occur out at Sedgwick County Park. It's an important event, and as a pet owner of both dogs and cats, it's a wonderful event for the community. I'm glad they're going to be able to host it, and I'll be very supportive of not only the other items on the consent agenda, but item K in particular to this morning.
All right, thank you for those comments, Commissioner Peterjohn. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. At this time, I would like to go ahead and recess the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners and call to order the governing body of Fire District Number 1 for the date of June the 8th, 2016. And Madam Clerk, please, first item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Unruh?
Present.
Commissioner Norton?
Present.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Present.
Commissioner Ransaw?
Present.
Chairman Howell?
Present. All right. Madam Clerk, first item, next item, please.
Public agenda.
Okay. I do have one person signed up, and let me just ask the question. What I plan to do, just a thought here, but I was going to recognize the presenter of an item here, and then after that, take a short recess, and then allow public comment at that time. So let me ask a question to Matt Huntsman. Would you want to speak on this item now or later?
Later would be great.
Very, very, very good. I will recognize you at the appropriate time then. And with that, I'd like to recognize presenter of an item, please. Oh, I apologize. We actually have another item before we get to that. Madam Clerk, there's an item of approval of minutes.
Public agenda first.
And, well,
Consideration of minutes, item A, regular fire meetings, May 11, 2016.
all right. We're on item A.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the regular fire meeting minutes of May 11, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw,
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. And again, I realize I did skip over public agenda. Once again, I don't have anybody signed up other than Mark Huntsman, so, and he's agreed to speak on his interest in this item later, and I will be glad to recognize him at that time. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and go on to item B. Madam Clerk, is that okay? All right.
New business, item B, consideration and issuance of decision settling the impasse by and between Fire District Number 1 and I.A.F.F. Union Local Number 2612 with regard to a 2016-2017 Memorandum of Agreement.
Mr. Chairman, Michael North, Assistant County Counselor. I'm here today to talk about the continued negotiations and potential resolution of the agreement between Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1 and the local bargaining unit. We have to present to you today, I've not included this in the agenda because we were still working on it as lately as yesterday, but we have proposed contracts that we'd like to hand out to you today. I will be discussing those in some degree of detail during my presentation. I'll add, I have no overheads at this point, no thing, and I expect that what I've got to say will take approximately 12 minutes. That is a prediction. It's not a promise because I am a lawyer after all. But I will go through what we believe are the issues that we have before you today, the changes that we have from the agreement that was in effect 2014 and 15, and I certainly will be here to enjoy any questions that you may have to present my way. The last time that we had this item up before us was on May 11th, and that's when we had a formal hearing that is dictated by statute that if the union and the district continue to be at an impasse, we have to have a public hearing, which we had on May 11th, and I do not intend to reenact that hearing. I think both sides discussed in a great amount of detail what their positions were regarding that matter. But since then, I've had conversations with the fire district and other relevant departments, including personnel and finance, concerning the contract, and we've also met with executive session with the commission to try to get some idea about what direction we should go on this contract. I think it is fair to say that we have no unanimity of opinion about what needs to be done on this, but I think there are some items that are a consensus that can be worked out as a consensus, and that's essentially what I'm presenting to you today in this contract, this proposed contract. This essentially is sort of a middle position of all of the actors that have on the district side that have discussed this issue, and so I'm going to walk through those and tell you this is what we're proposing. And understand again, as I pointed out on the May 11th hearing, this is of my authorship, at least in consultation with our own legal department and the other departments that have an interest in this at the county and district court level. But this is what I have put together. Any blame on this certainly needs to be directed at me and not anybody else. We are still at impasse with the bargaining unit, and by statute that means that the governing body of the fire district is authorized under Kansas law to take what other actions it deems to be in the public interest. It is important to point out that includes the interest of the public employees involved as well. There are several options that the Commission has as a result of what my presentation and the other discussion of other people that are here to talk about this issue are. Among these, that the Commission, the board has the right to adopt the contract in its entirety, integrating all of the suggestions that I have made. As an alternative, should there be provisions in here that the Commission does not agree with and things ought to be changed, the Commission can adopt the contract with whatever changes get directed by the Commission for legal staff to integrate at a later time. That, of course, would include the option of choosing the compensation alternatives that have been suggested by the union in the past as well. The third alternative is that this commission could order the fire district and the union to can order us to continue negotiations with the union. And finally, of course, we could pass the item for consideration at a subsequent meeting. I'm sure there are probably other options that I have not been wise enough to be able to suggest to you, but these are what we have before you in terms of alternatives at this juncture. We've attached some, have some attachments to the agenda item. The district's attachment essentially was the proposal that I'd included as a preface to the May 11 public hearing. That included the proposal that the district was suggesting in terms of compensation. That again was before the May 11th public hearing. Since then, the union has submitted in writing their proposal. That was by correspondence from Mr. Bucchigham, who was here to present the union's position on the May 11 hearing, and had an outline of what the union was, the bargaining union was suggesting in terms of a compensation package as well. This is an outline of the changes that we're talking about. The first one, of course, gets to the core issue of compensation. And as a result of the conversations that I've had with both staff and commission, that I think we are in a posture of wanting to adopt the recommendations that were made by the district on the May 11 hearing. And just briefly, these are covered by Articles 14, 15, and 16 of the agreement. I'm going to walk through these briefly to again go over what we're suggesting in terms of compensation under the new agreement. And that is that we would return to the 2012 pay plan. The 2012 pay plan was amended for the agreement that went into effect in 2014 and 2015. A return to that will increase in more compensation to the union members. According to the calculations and figures that we have put together, approximately 2/3 of union employees will get a raise between 1.8% and 3.7%. There will be about 1/3 of the union members that do not get immediate raise under going back to the 2012 plan, and so we have suggested a 1% bonus for those individuals as part of the plan as well. Then we're suggesting a 2% bonus to all union employees in 2017. One point that I want to make on this that is important difference in what I was suggesting to you back on May 11th is I was suggesting that we go to a 3-year contract. As a result of the discussions that we've had with many individuals, we are uncomfortable doing that. I think the consensus seems to be that we'd rather have a 2-year contract rather than a 3-year contract. And so that is what you have before you before. It is not the 3-year contract that I suggested in the back in May. It is a 2-year agreement, and that is why when we talk about bonuses to all union employees, that would be for 2017, the second year of this agreement, not going forward to 2018 is what I discussed before. At that point, all step increases are frozen. Once we go to the 2012 pay plan, we are freezing any pay increases. The only increases in compensation will be according to the bonus payments that we're paying in 2017. Longevity pay, and this is covered in Article 15 of the agreement, that may remain frozen for the duration of the agreement, the 2 years that this agreement is in effect. And Article 16, when it talks about the compensation structure within range salary increases, there will be no step increases within that range. The step increases are, again, frozen for the duration of the contract. Now, briefly, this is in comparison with the union's plan. They have suggested again, and I think there's not much difference between the two proposals in this respect, of again going back to the 2012 pay plan. But the union's proposal is that we reinstate the 2014-2015 pay matrix, which means we go back to the 3% step increase that we had before, in contrast to freezing the step increases, which is suggested by the district. They also are talking about a 2% cost of living raise or a wage increase for both 2016 and 2017. The union's proposal was for 3 years, and that 2% wage increase and also the 3% bump in the steps would be applicable to 2018 as well. That essentially covers the difference in the compensation. Other than the fact that we've reduced the term of the agreement from 3 years to 2 years, it pretty much mirrors what I had suggested back in May when we had the public hearing. There are other issues involved in this. The first one is that we are suggesting, again, a 2-year contract. We think legally that we can do this. We think we could go longer than 1 year. We do not think we can go longer than 3 years, but the term of the contract is one of the issues as well. There are 2 other provisions, however, that are a change from the agreement that we have in effect in 2014 and 2015. These are found in Articles 17 and Articles 17A. They deal with the role of part-time employees, and it also has a creation of a new provision for the volunteer and reserve firefighters. Just in bullet point form, this is what the changes are in Article 17, that are the provisions that apply to Article 17, that there's a pool of qualified personnel that may be used as regular part-time employees. They are able, under the contract, if they meet the qualifications to be hired, to be able to perform any and all work covered by the bargaining unit agreement with the district. Third, part-time employees may be used as a pool from which to hire regular full-time employees. The fire chief has the sole discretion to determine compensation for part-time employees and in terms of benefits while they are to be paid for their services at the level of compensation to be determined by the fire chief. Part-time employees are not entitled to any other benefits. The essential difference between this and the agreement that we have now is that it really deals with a couple of areas. Under the old agreement, the provision that there was always a provision that would allow us to retain part-time employees. The question is, under what circumstances can you do that? Under the former contract, the contract said you can hire part-time employees primarily, but not exclusively, to assist in seasonal staffing shortages, or in cases of hardship. What we're proposing is a little wider than that. While that provision did not say that you are limited to those circumstances and being able to use part-time employees, I think the language we have is clearer that you can use them in circumstances into the discretion of the fire department administration. The second one deals with compensation. Under the old contract, the fire district, if it did hire or utilize part-time employees, it was determined that they will compensate those employees under the agreement at articles at the step 1A range 19 compensation level. Essentially, the agreement said you will compensate people at the beginning entry level point that firefighters have under the step matrix. Under the provision, we again give the fire chief more flexibility. He can pay part-time employees less money if they can be hired for less than that, or if circumstances exist where they have to pay more money to make that part-time position attractive to somebody, they have the discretion to do that as well. Those are essentially the differences in Article 17 that deal with part-time employees. We've also added a provision, and this is Article 17A. It deals with volunteer and reserve firefighters. We had no such provision in the prior agreement that allowed us to use these types of individuals if needed by the fire department. We've added Article 17A in, and it essentially says 4 things. First, the fire district has the right to develop, maintain, and make use of a volunteer reserve firefighter force. Secondly, the force shall have the ability to perform any and all work covered by the contract, covered by the bargaining agreement between the district and the union. Third, members of the force shall be fully qualified as determined by the fire chief. They are delegated representatives in the fire district. And the members of the force are not entitled to any compensation or any benefits. These are strictly a volunteer force they would utilize if necessity existed. This is not unheard of in terms of the endeavor of having a firefighter district. There are many volunteer fire departments that exist in smaller towns, townships, communities here and elsewhere. So essentially those are the agreements, those are the provisions that we are suggesting that are different from the existing bargaining agreement that we have in effect. Again, they primarily deal with the compensation issues, but deal with a couple of other issues concerning the part-time and volunteer fire departments. That is what I am suggesting that the Commission adopt here today, but of course, as I've already indicated, there are alternatives that you have as a bargaining unit. With that said, I'm open to any questions that you may have on this issue.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. What I'd like to do at this point, let me ask a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Members of the audience that are interested in this, do they have access to this document right now?
We've got copies. I think we have passed them out. I'm certainly happy if it's for permission of the chair to give as much time as people need to take them over.
So what I'd like to do, because this is a fairly large document, although most of the items that you presented today are the items we've been discussing both at the hearing and I think every time this has come up, most of the topics are kind of old topics, but there is some new stuff in here that you just presented. So I think it'd be reasonable for us to give audience members an opportunity to read through this document or to review the document, the things that you just discussed. And so with that, I would like to motion that we would recess this meeting for 15 minutes. It is 10:07 on my clock. So we would come back here at 10:22 to reconvene the meeting here. So I don't know if we need a motion to recess or not.
Well, I'll second it if you want to.
All right.
Have it, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I don't know if we need a motion or a second. Anyway, let's go ahead and do that anyway. So let's. I make a motion to recess for 15 minutes. Coming back at 10:22.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call that vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peter John?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. Be back at 10:22.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to give this back. All right, we're back from recess. I'd like to reconvene this meeting and call us back to order. And so all the folks need to come back in and sit down, please. I sure appreciate that. A few folks did sign up on the public comment sheet now that they've had an opportunity to hear the proposal that was presented by Mr. North. And so with that, I'd like to recognize a few people and have them come to the podium, and please state your name and address, and I'll give you up to 5 minutes to say whatever you need to say. And then I think, again, for the attorney for the union contract, I'd like to give him as much time as he needs, and so if that's okay. Anybody needs more time, please let me know. But I'd like to just try to stick to 5 minutes if possible on the other speakers. And so with that, would it be okay, Matt Huntsman, if you want to go first? Sure. That'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to discuss the proposal submitted by Mr. North, as well as the union's proposal. I'd like to start by, we'll start with discussing the compensation proposal made by Mr. North today to you. He recommended that bonuses be applied to the firefighters in both 2016 and 2017, while returning them to their appropriate steps, but then freezing the steps again under the 2012 pay plan. He did not, however, discuss the union's proposal in great detail. I'd like to kind of just flesh that out for you a little bit. The union also wants to return to the step pay plan, which I believe was what Mr. North was referring to when he said the 2012 pay plan. However, the union would like to unfreeze the steps so that every year or every 18 months, firefighters who are eligible for a step increase can move up in their pay. Now, there was testimony at a fact-finding hearing held on the issue of compensation, which went to impasse, that established that step pay plans don't actually increase the cost to the fire district. Whenever somebody tops out and leaves, somebody new comes in, it eventually balances itself out, so there is no real increase in cost. Now, the other proposal that the union submitted, and I believe it was when Mr. Bucchigham was here on their behalf, was a 2% across-the-board pay increase for all firefighters. And this was actually last proposed to go into effect in 2017 and 2018. There would be no across-the-board increase for this year. Now, under that proposal, Mr. York, the economist who's been doing this for like 30, 35 years, he determined that that would be, well, when it was originally a 2.5% increase, he determined the county or the fire district would incur a cost of $260-ish thousand each year for that 2% increase. And to fix the steps, it would be a one-time cost of $48,000 to the county with no additional cost to be incurred. Longevity was also on the table at the time. We've since agreed that that could be frozen and we would accept a proposal. So obviously a 2% across-the-board increase in 17 and 18 would be even less than Mr. York testified that it would cost the fire district. Now, there's been some question as to whether the fire district can actually afford all of this, and based on what Mr. North said today as well as in the past, he paints a picture of gloom and doom, that the fire district simply can't afford to pay for these increases, and that it will be broke in like 5 years. That is simply untrue based on the numbers that Mr. York provided at the fact-finding hearing and that have been provided to this council on numerous occasions. There is also the question of revenue from the Kansas Star Casino. Mr. York mentioned in his paperwork provided with the agenda that there are legal barriers to transferring that money. However, he did not provide any legal authority to support that position today, nor did he in his paperwork submitted to you with the agenda. It is my position that there are no legal barriers that would prevent any money being transferred from the county to the fire district, especially when the firefighters of Local 2612 provide fire protection to that casino, which is not located in Sedgwick County. He also noted that there were philosophical and practical problems with transferring money from the county to the fire district, but again, that was not addressed in his presentation, and as I see it, I really see no philosophical problem with providing money to firefighters to respond to calls at a casino. lastly, in his documentation provided to you with his recommendation today, Mr. North indicated that there would be no increased turnover if the proposal he has submitted were accepted by you commissioners. Obviously, he has no way to guarantee that there wouldn't be increased turnover. However, I can say after speaking with these guys yesterday and again today, there are a lot of grumblings from the younger firefighters who aren't going to see a pay increase with the exception of a bonus, which would be taxed at a bonus rate for 5 years. So they would remain at the base salary all the way through until, well, I guess with a 2-year proposal it would be until 2018, assuming negotiations were successful at that time. That being said, it is my position and the union's position that its proposal is more than reasonable. It is the appropriate amount of money to provide to these guys, and it is more than affordable for the fire district as a whole. Now, the other topic I want to address is the inclusion of Articles 17 and 17A within the proposed contract. These articles were not agreed to during negotiations. They were proposed and they were rejected. We did not reach impasse on these articles. So quite frankly, to bring them up at this point is really a clear violation of PIRA. We can only reach this stage if you go to impasse, go to fact-finding over the issues, meet and negotiate, have the public hearing that was held on May 11th, and then reach this stage where you decide what is in the public's interest. These issues weren't on the table then. There is absolutely no reason that the board should be ruling on these 2 articles today. That is a clear violation of the law, and I.A.F.F. 2612 is prepared to take legal action should this board approve those 2 articles today. The last thing that I want to address is the length of the proposed contract. Now, Mr. North noted today that he has reduced his proposed contract length from 3 years to 2 years. I assume this is in an effort to dissuade the union from filing any kind of legal action for yet another violation of PIRA. However, the fact remains that a unilateral implementation of a collective bargaining agreement, a contract, an MOA, whatever you want to call it, must be limited to 1 year. There are explicit laws on the books that state that a municipality can incur a debt years into the future. However, under PIRA, you can be excluded from that. Now, Mr. North, in a letter to me last week, he relied specifically on a case from Lawrence, Kansas, a city which is not under PIRA, in which a court of appeals held that a 2-year agreement didn't violate the cash basis law. However, I strongly disagree with his analysis of that case. PIRA is extremely applicable here. You obviously fall under PIRA. There is no reason that case would be applicable. It is 26 years old, and 2612 would be happy to challenge that ruling, hopefully in the Supreme Court, should you agree to implement this 2-year agreement. With that, I would recommend that this board either accept the union's proposal or order that we negotiate further or postpone this until a later date. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them for you.
Commissioners, any questions at this time for Mr. Huntsman? Commissioner Ranzau.
Yep. Mr. Huntsman, I think the county, correct me if I'm wrong, throughout this process has offered 4 different proposals prior to today. Can you tell me how the union voted on each of those proposals?
I believe that the union voted no on those proposals. And if I remember correctly, the only difference in those proposals was the timing of a bonus. They were either spread out across 3 years or lumped in 1 year or some other variety of that.
Are you saying the whole union membership voted on these, and if so, do you have those results?
I do not have them with me.
Okay.
And Oh, and it was the executive board that voted on those issues, not the entire membership.
So the membership did not vote on any of the 4 proposals?
No, and I'll let Dave correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the executive board has to approve a proposal before it reaches the entire membership. It helps to streamline the negotiation process.
Right, but they didn't allow the membership to vote on any of them?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Huntsman? All right, thank you, Mr. Huntsman. And if you need a second bite at the apple later on because of your position in this negotiation, I would not necessarily mind recognizing you again down the road if I need to. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Get my attention. All right. I'd like to recognize Dave Thompson. Please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Dave Thompson, 931 Pheasant Run, Valley Center, Kansas, Local 2612 President. To address Mr. Ranzau's question to our attorney, no, our memberships have not voted on this because we haven't gotten a viable contract in which we would present to them that would equally and unilaterally benefit them in the future. Anything and everything you've proposed to us actually damages their future and does not benefit them at all. I can't imagine that anyone in my executive board or a negotiating team would approve anything that would take a brand new firefighter based upon what you've proposed and would not see a pay compensation raise for up to 4 years based upon if they started after 2016. So with that, I stand in front of you saying, you say you support public safety in the media that sits back here and in front of the cameras. You laud the sheriff when he stands here and says, I need 4% or 8% because I don't want my deputies, my commissioned staff, to go next door or across the street to WPD. We've got a lot invested. You stand up there and you say, great job, Sheriff, way to take care of your people. Yet we're the ones for the fire district standing here saying we're in the same boat. His graphs and charts he presented to you were the same graphs and charts that Matt Huntsman created and the I.A.F.F. in D.C. supported that we presented you. They look almost identical to the sheriff's graphs and charts and pay. I don't see any of our chiefs up here supporting us like the sheriff supported his people. That's the union's job. That's where we come in. From the standpoint of what's been talked about today in the contract in which has been proposed as an alternative, I've got 4 people out here in the audience going through it, and most of the items in there were not what we tentatively agreed to. Not at all. As a matter of fact, one item in there is only what we tentatively agreed to, and that was increasing the ability for our members to buy a personal firefighting tool with their clothing allowance from $75 to $100. That's the only thing in there we found that we tentatively agreed to as labor and management. Everything else that is in that contract is what management proposed to us, and it's not what we agreed to. Not at all. We had great compromising discussions within those articles, and we made great strides on those articles, but nothing in that contract is what we agreed to, except for spending $100 on a piece of firefighting equipment. I'm standing here so frustrated right now with the labor management initiative that is based around what's happening today. We should not be negotiating a contract on the steps of this building. We never have, and we shouldn't be doing it now. Article 17 and 17A. Article 17 was presented to us in negotiations, and they wanted to strengthen it. We did not budge. We did not move. We are not going to stand for part-timers standing next to us with less training, less experience, less knowledge, when our lives are on the line and our management staff, along with this fire district board, runs us short, makes or reduces our manpower in the station to provide for our people, our citizens, and our communities. We don't train with these people. We don't know where their backgrounds are. We don't know what their education is. And they don't work with us enough to say we can trust them or count on them. I can tell you every man in this room I've worked enough with, and I'll trust them when I walk out the door and there's a car accident across the street because I know what they're going to do. I've worked with them that much. We tentatively agreed to take part-timers off the table in negotiations between labor and management. It's in this contract. It's being forced down our throats, and under PIRA, you're only allowed to discuss and rule on the 3 items that went to impasse: pay compensation, step increases, longevity. That's it. You can invoke a 1-year contract under PIRA. That's it. This local, through Steve Bucati and through the I.A.F.F. in Washington, D.C., are prepared to go all the way because this changes PIRA law. If you do anything outside of PIRA, it changes PIRA law in the state, and it sets a precedence, and we're not going to sit idly. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I'd like to recognize Marcy Gregory. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Marcy Gregory, 11 Hopper Court in Goddard, Kansas. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate your time this morning. I have many friends and family that are firefighters. As a matter of fact, my father-in-law was retired Captain Bill Spurrier, Sedgwick County Fire Department. He spent over 25 years on the fire department. Very proud of his service, and I'm here because he's not able to be. He would be if he hadn't passed in 2004. These gentlemen are a brotherhood, and he would be very upset knowing the fact that a lot of them are answering calls knowing that full well they might not return from those calls and haven't had a pay increase since 2014. He would be very upset with that fact. And I urge you, I know most individuals, I'm speaking from a layperson citizen standpoint, we really don't appreciate them until we need them, but boy, when we need them, we want them well trained, well educated, and I personally want them well compensated. So I would urge you to, when you're making decisions on their behalf, recognize that you're sending them a message how great a value you place on them and their service. I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gregory.
Thank you.
I'd like to recognize Jeff Cowley. Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
Jeff Cowley, 1638 Northwest Ridge, Wichita, Kansas, 67203. I'm currently the 3rd in seniority in our department. I'm the highest ranking firefighter. I've been a local 2612 member since 1985. I've been president for 9 years, and I'm currently a shift vice president within the local and also on the executive board and negotiating committee. I'm appalled. In my 32 years in this fire district, this is the worst I have ever seen. It's just beyond comprehension. As President Thompson has stated, you're short-staffing us. We got 2 outlying stations that you took 1 man away for every shift. You continually give away, our department gives away our services to non-paying taxpayers. We go into other fire districts, other volunteer departments, because if volunteerism is so great, why are we emptying 3 stations to go into Nenasko Township and the city of Clearwater? What's that say to every one of your constituents when their house comes in on fire and it's going to take 25 minutes for the next closest truck to respond to that address? The city of Wichita, apparently we don't make them hold to their agreement, because all we get is a squad outside the line of death is what we've called it. They only have 6 squads in the city limits of Wichita. If we get a squad in Andale, you know where it comes from? Central and Elder, Station 8. We've been down this road before with part-time people. We proved in the past that it was not cost-effective, because not only do you have the training, and in the training itself, you're not talking about fire training at all. You're talking about extrication. You're talking about EMT. The state is looking at imposing an increase in hours for EMTs for recertification every year or every 2 years. We're having difficulty keeping up with our people today. You put a pool of individuals of whatever that is, and in the past it was 20, and getting those people to their training is nearly impossible. We've already been down this road. The cost of those people, you got to have physicals for them. You got to buy gear for them. We don't have extra gear for everybody in the world. To outfit those people in personal protective equipment is over $3,000 a piece. It's easy math, okay? Pay freeze, I'm topped out. I've been here 32 years. I've been topped out for 15, 17 years. Every one of these guys back here have 5 years of seniority or less. City of Wichita's hiring. KCK's hiring. They just got a 5% increase. Topeka, they're hiring too. Derby's hiring. There are a lot of departments that are coming up and being big players in the game. Send the wrong message to every one of these guys back here. We're the ones that are supporting the department. We're the ones that are out there every day doing what we do, and we do it on our days off also. Let's talk about the casino. You know, you say that there's no statute that says that you can give that to us. Well, it also says that you can't. There's no reason why you can't give it to us. Without Station 34, with Quint 34 being a ladder, that's why they need us. Because their insurance rate will go up if they do not have an aerial device responding to that business. It's not in the fire district, but it was my understanding from fire prevention that we went through their plans of their building also and assisted them. I don't think ComCare or Public Works or anyone else is down at the casino when something happens. We are the ones that are there. Period. We're helping them. Overtime. Like I say, you've shorted us. The Goddard station. There are days that they run with 3 instead of 5. Before that, it was Mays. They ran short with 3 or 5. So this is just a bad idea. I understand doing this, you are ultimately responsible for everything that happens to this fire district. In my career, I have buried 2 brothers. I'm retiring in 2 days. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here because they needed me. Thank you. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Cowley. All right. Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to speak that did not sign up? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions? Commissioner Ranzau.
I'd like to ask if Mr. Kronos or somebody could give us a financial analysis of this proposal or speak to that issue.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Chris Kronos, your Chief Financial Officer. We estimate that the 2016 cost of returning to the 2012 pay structure will be approximately $109,000, providing a 1% bonus to the roughly third of the members who would not be would not have their pay increased by that return to the 2012 structure would add another $22,000 of cost in 2016. We estimate that the cost of the 2% bonus that is proposed for 2017 would be approximately $198,000. As you know, the financial forecast for the fire district, with or without the adjustments that we're talking about here pursuant to this contract, the financial forecast is for the district to incur deficits, operating deficits, for each of the 5 years of the financial forecast, and those deficits will be funded by draws, by reductions of the fund balance throughout the 5-year period.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Okay.
Are we still in the public hearing?
I'm closing the public comment portion because there's nobody else left to speak here. So it's back to the board. Commissioner, would you like to say anything, Commissioner Norton?
I'll start it off. First of all, I have Station 34 right in the heart of my district. I'm very proud of it. It's a brand new facility. It has great firefighters that work out of there, and it serves the south side very well. So I'm very proud of that. As I've been on this commission over the years, the thing I understand is there's a three-legged stool to providing great fire service: facilities, equipment, and personnel. Over the years, we've invested dramatically in facilities. I think the Mayor of Goddard can talk to that. The Mayor of Mays can talk to that. The Mayor of Hayesville can talk to that. Brand new stations that serve big populations that find themselves out in the county. Yes, they're in municipalities, but they're not part of the system of the City of Wichita. We've invested in great equipment. We do have a Quint in Hayesville. I'm very proud of that big piece of equipment. We've invested in hazmat equipment that is second to none, and the training that goes with it. Because in my district, you have a OxyChem, you have an Air Products, you have a DeBruce grain elevator. And you know, we've had problems. Hope we don't ever have them again. And by the way, we're fraught with things like tornadoes. And I've suffered with those in my district too. And I'm proud to say that first on the scene were Sedgwick County firefighters, along with Sedgwick County Sheriff. So over the years, we've invested heavily in facilities, brand new ones, worked hard to figure out where to put them, how much to spend on them. We've invested in great equipment and training, and now it's time to discuss personnel. It's critical. You can have all these other good things that we've already done, and if you don't have dedicated, highly educated, knowledgeable, highly compensated, motivated firefighters with good protocols and disciplines under their belt, all that other doesn't matter. And I personally do not believe today that we've done enough to finish these negotiations off and make sure that we come to a good agreement of what we want as a commission and what the folks that deliver the services, boots on the ground, are needing to stay motivated and educated and dedicated to the citizens of this community. I could probably live with 1-year contract if we had to. I think that would give us some time to start negotiations again, get at the table and figure this out. Now, that's not the optimum for me. I would say let's try to sit down now and get this resolved before the budget season's over with. I don't particularly like the idea of volunteers, although some small towns have volunteers, and that's okay. But I certainly agree that volunteers may not be as highly trained as that I think they could be. And they're not quite as motivated in my mind. I'd rather have a wage increase as opposed to a bonus. I think that's prudent. I think we've postponed this, pushed it down the road, kicked the can, and we've not compensated our firefighters at certain levels like we should. We need to figure out, just like we do in our general population, in our public safety groups, in other areas, parity in the marketplace. We've studied it and studied it and studied it. And all the studies show that there is not parity. And we need to figure that out. We're struggling with that on the general government side right now. It's big dollars. We don't like to talk about it. But it's a reality. It's the elephant in the room, and it is with the fire district too. So we're going to have to deal with it, and for me, we've got to get along with parity in the market. I'm not so sure I like the idea of the chief being able to decide on the pay for part-timers. It should be built hardwired into a personnel policy. Not he can say this part-timer is going to get this much money and this part-timer will get this much money. And it seems like, as I see the simplicity of how this is written, that's what can happen. And I don't believe that's prudent. If we're going to have part-timers, I don't advocate for them, but if we're going to have them, there should be a pay scale for them just like anybody else based on their resume, what they know, what hours they can work, and how they contribute to the safety of the citizens of Sedgwick County. So, as of today, I know we've looked for consensus. I'm not warm to this agreement with some of these caveats, and if it were up to me, we would continue to negotiate till we come into something. Now, the other thing that nobody ever wants to hear is the reality that someday we're going to have to deal with this, and it may mean a small mill levy increase. Do I like that? No. But that's part of the reality. Costs go up, compensations go up. And in my district, medical calls and fire calls are huge. It may not be, I want to be sure I'm true, but I think Station 34 is either the first or second highest call volume station in the district. So I want it to be right. I want us to get this right and make sure that the folks that serve my district on the south side are taken care of, are motivated, and dedicated. So I'm not particularly warm to this today, and I will be glad to hear more conversation as we move along. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. I'm developing a lot of comments and questions myself, so let me just, I'll continue doing that. Commissioner Ranzoff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just say a few things. I'm very concerned about the financial situation of the fire district. I think in the past, I have voted for some fire district budgets, and I've voted against others because of my concern that I didn't think we were addressing the long-term issues of the imbalance and the fact we're using deficits. And throughout this process, I've kept that in the back of mind as far as the long-term viability of this district, searching for a solution that will give us long-term viability, and I don't think we've found that yet. Every proposal that was out there, ours or the unions, and this would include, causes deficits and eventually insolvency of the district. So we still have a lot of work as we move forward. I believe that the Board of County Commissioners negotiated in absolute good faith. We made several proposals. It's disappointing that the union members didn't have the opportunity to vote on any of them. We also wanted to clarify this language on part-timers and volunteers, I think, as well as we would also like pay for performance. The union refused both of those issues. We decided to stop negotiating on those issues for a while in a step of good faith and hope that the union would come our direction and understand the financial issues we're having, but they did not. It's been very disappointing. It's also very disappointing to hear people prejudge the idea that we can have part-timers. First of all, we already can. We just want to clarify that language. the current president of the firefighters union was a part-timer, and yet he wants to criticize giving the fire chief options to manage the fire district in a fiscally responsible manner. That's what we're trying to do. And many of the things that were provided in the testimony from Mr. York are not credible. And there's so many things being said that are incorrect or deceptive or just tells part of the story. I don't even have time to address it all. But regardless of what contract we come up with, this one of the others, or something else, we have significant financial issues at the fire district, and we're going to have to address them sometime. I would argue, even if we propose this one still, if we were to continue this one indefinitely, it would still lead to insolvency, or any of the other ones we discussed about. So there's got to be some honest and open dialogue about alternatives on how to reduce costs. Unfortunately, we've not been able to have that conversation. I hope that changes as we move forward, regardless of what we do here today. That's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner. Commissioner Unruh?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're approaching a decision point here, and I just wanted to weigh in with the conclusion that I'm arriving at on this decision. I appreciate the comments of both of my colleagues. I think they're both accurate in what they say, but as I try to understand this, we've got two big issues. One, we have an issue with revenue for the fire district that has not been growing, and yet we still have to keep the fire district solvent. We have a problem with staffing, and it seems to me like the solution using part-time firefighters is a solution, at least in the short term. We have to come up with a way to solve the structural imbalance that we have. And as Commissioner Ranzau said, this particular contract will not solve that, so our work is not done. But in the short term, in order to resolve the issue and put us back to work finding a long-term solution, which very likely is going to have us consider a mill levy increase in order to fund the services of the fire district. I mean, if we continue on this path, even with this contract, we're still going to use our reserves and become insolvent in the very near future. So our solution, this is not really a solution, it's just a pause in the negotiations while we try to work on a further solution. To me, this is a better move than just continuing without a contract. And so I'm going to be, I think, in favor of moving forward with this until we find a better solution. That's all I have.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Unruh. Commissioner Ranzau?
I will say I'm willing to consider additional proposals. If Commissioner Norton has a proposal he'd like to put forward that he thinks might be better than this, I'm certainly willing to entertain that.
Thank you, Commissioner Ranzau. Any other comments from commissioners? All right, let me make a few comments as myself. I'd like to just clarify a couple things. Mr. North, you got just a moment to answer a question regarding the casino revenue. Can you please remind us of your opinion regarding the reason why that revenue is not available to be used the way that was proposed by the union? Please tell me your perspective.
Well, our perspective is that we can't use, we're legally prohibited from using casino revenue, and that is a question that I wasn't as prepared for as I thought I would be. But basically, it goes down to this, that there was a statutory system set up for certain people to be within gaming districts. Sedgwick County is within the gaming district that includes that of Sumner County, which would include the casino down close to Mulvane. the statute that specifies gaming district only talks about counties. It does not talk about being able to allocate revenue to fire districts or to any other governmental entity. Also tied in with that is the issue is, okay, even if the gaming district statutes don't address that issue about whether fire districts should be paid that money, is there some other mechanism that you can have for simply going to the county and then transferring that over to the fire district? And our opinion is, and I think I have the support of other legal staff here that talks about this, is you cannot do that because the fire district is set up as a special fund. We have a number of different funds. EMS, for example, has a fund. Noxious weeds has a fund. There is a general county fund. There are a lot of other funds that I'm not bright enough to remember as I sit here and talk with you here. But statutory prohibitions keep one fund from going into another fund. The reason for that is there are specific tax allocations that go to these governmental services. A certain amount of our property tax money goes for general operations in the county, but it also goes to EMS, it goes to noxious weeds, and it also goes to fire district for those citizens in Sedgwick County that live within the fire district. Those statutory prohibitions are set up so that you do not have one fund because of whatever political realities may exist out there or political pressures may exist in there from dipping into another fund. We tax for a certain governmental function that is addressed by a fund, and it is specifically to stay there. That is why we simply cannot get casino money that is not specified in the gaming statute that goes to any other fund other than the county to go to any place else. We couldn't give it to EMS, we couldn't give it to anybody else, and that's why our opinion, we feel very strong is a reason that casino revenue is not the option here. As you may recall, there were a couple of other arguments I made there is the issue of what do we cut because that money is committed to other programs and how much, when the fire district is essentially only about 4% of what the general revenue is, and that wouldn't even dent what we're talking about in terms of the union's proposal, in terms of a contribution. Those are all political or practical realities, but we think there are legal prohibitions, and we firmly stand by that opinion.
Very good. Thank you for that explanation. And just also a reminder, the casino actually sits inside the city of Mulvane, although it seems like it's 5 miles from the heart of Mulvane. There's a snake annexation that brings it inside the city limits of Mulvane. And I believe we have an agreement with Mulvane with respect to mutual aid or automatic aid. I believe it's probably mutual aid. They actually go inside Sedgwick County to help assist with our calls, and I think we also go into the city of Mulvane when needed to provide some assistance to them when we're called. And so I believe that's an agreement in place. Also, I believe that we have an agreement with the city of, is it city of Peck? I believe it is. And that was an agreement. Yes, sir. Go ahead, please explain that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Our agreement was with the city of Mulvane Fire Department. Their fire department will go to the city of Peck and cover structural fires. That is an exchange for our fire district going into and covering any structural fires in the casino area. It is a mutual agreement. I assume that it's based upon geography and resources that are available within a reasonable distance.
And one more question on that. Can you just, I think I've heard this before, but please remind me, we have responded to the casino in the past. We've had at least, it's been open, I believe, since 2010, I believe.
2010, as my understanding is, and I of course got to rely upon other people, but I think in 2013 we responded to a vehicle fire, and I believe that's the only time we've ever responded.
All right.
I think early on we did have people going down and inspecting their fire prevention systems. I think maybe we got paid a fee for doing that, as I remember, but as I understand it, it's that one call is all that has ever been brought to my attention. And I think I asked that specific question, how often do we get down there to put out fires or have service calls in the fire at the casino, and that's what was revealed to me.
Very good. Thank you so much for the answers to my questions. Just a couple of other comments I'll make. I believe the fire district represents about 85,000 people who pay taxes. Of course, it's property tax funded. So, although 85,000 people may live in that fire district, that's not 85,000 independent payments to the fire district. It's each property owner pays into the fire district. And I believe it's around 18, a little more than 18 mills property tax. And comparing that with Sedgwick County government, there's about 508,000 people inside Sedgwick County government paying similarly into the governing body of Sedgwick County, and that's about 29.3 mils, I guess. Correct? Okay. 29.3 mils, and so it's roughly 2/3 of the you want to compare those things, roughly 2/3, but we only have about 1/6 of the population, and I guess just a point to note, because also because of the nature of the fire district, it is a shrinking tax base. So over the years, our responsibilities seem to be level or go up. However, the number of people paying taxes into that goes down. So with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Cronus for one quick question, if you don't mind. Can you please remind me, or if you can guess, hopefully closely guess to the answer, how much has the revenue gone up in the fire district as a result of increases in assessed valuation?
My recollection is that in 2013, the increase in the tax base was about 1.6%. Thank you, Lindsay. It was 1.2%, excuse me. In 2014, it was 1.8%. In 2015, it was 0.9%. We have forecasted in that long-term forecast that I described to you earlier, we have forecasted future growth of the tax base at approximately 1.5%, a little bit less than that.
Very good, thank you. And so, again, if we approve this contract, it includes increases that are above those numbers, and so that actually, I think, sets us up for additional insolvency. These are facts. I understand that both sides have estimated these numbers independently, and they somewhat disagree on the projections. However, I think that the past numbers are hard facts we ought to be looking at, and I believe that that speaks volumes to me that we're continuing to spend more than we take in, which is why we've continued to run on deficits, which means our budget's not balanced. If it wasn't for a fund balance to carry that budget forward, we would actually be insolvent already. And we're going to cross that threshold at some point in the future, especially if we pass any increases, even as described by this proposal today. A couple of other comments. I'll suspend my comments for just a minute. Commissioner Peterjohn?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, because staff was kind enough on the finance end to provide data, and they went back. I'm not sure why they went back to 2003, but I looked at it two ways because I wasn't here in 2003, came on board in 2009, and I looked at the data and analyzed it both from when I started and as far back as I could go with 2003. And from looking at the data, the real problem we've got is, and this is going to be a continuing challenge because the boundaries of the fire district are flexible. Anybody who's watched us has seen the items come up on the agenda. Some folks want in, other folks want to get out. And we also have municipal annexations. Now, we've got a lot of municipalities inside the boundaries of the fire district: Mays, Bel Air, Hayesville, Goddard, just to name some, Garden Plain, and then there's others who are outside. But the bottom line is that the city of Wichita, that's not in the fire district, the city of Derby, that's not in the fire district, if they annex, we've got a fire station. We had a fire station, county fire station. It's now inside the city of Derby. We're fortunate we were able to come up with a new facility, and we've got a plan that's been in place for many years to build new fire stations, including I think the most recent one that's been built in my district was in Goddard. But to point out the challenge and the difference that we have, if property taxes were raised between 2003 and 2009. Now, since 2009, the mill levy's been basically flat. Here's the real killer, the assessed valuation growth. In 2003, we've had 56% increase in assessed valuation between 2016 compared to what it was in 2003. Since 2009, 13%. Property tax levied had grown from 2003 to the present and increased 85%. Since 2009, it's grown just under 13%. So we've got a challenge in front of us. If you want to raise taxes, and the challenge I hear from, and the folks who contacted me said, look, if I'm in the city of Wichita, I'm paying a little over 30 mills in city property tax. And then they said, I'm not in the city of Wichita, I'm in another city, plus I've got the the fire district mill levy on top of it, and sometimes that's a good deal more. And the challenge we've had is to make Sedgwick County as competitive a place as we can to do so. And we've had a commitment for fire safety, and I think this discussion would be remiss if at least someone from up here didn't point out, so I'm going to do it, that the new agreement that we have for fire training in place with the City of Wichita is going to give us an unprecedented opportunity for facilities that we've never been able to utilize in the past, and I think will be a big plus going down the road for the community overall. You know, we've had some talk about part-timers. There are part-timers in a number of the departments around here, and I think we have a commitment to try and come up with the best way to keep this community safe at as reasonable a cost as possible. I realize that's a subjective statement, but we're trying to protect this community and do so at the best price, and proceeding in a way that we have to live within those realities. Tax base has not been growing, and that's a countywide problem. Actually, it's a nationwide problem. It's a statewide problem, and Sedgwick County is not immune to it, and the fire district's not immune to it. But it's a reality, and it can be ignored, but in the long run, it cannot be denied. And so that's why, in my opinion, we're in the situation we face today, and I agree with Commissioner Ranzau. I mean, there's plenty of cases in bargaining units where the members get a say, and sometimes the executive committee may say, well, we don't recommend this contract, and send it to the membership that way. I've heard that on many occasions. But for us to propose multiple agreements and none of them ever go to the rank and file to have input, it makes me struggle, because when I combine that with you know, I could ask the county councilor the question, and I already know the answer to it. Mr. County Councilor or Mr. North, tell me about the county's agreement with the Kansas Star Casino. Well, there is none. Never has. Unless something significantly changes, I don't think there will be now. I think that's been a distraction from the reality of the situation we face today. This is a property tax funded entity, and we've got mutual aid and automatic aid agreements with basically every adjacent fire district, and in some ways that's going to pull us into neighboring counties, like Mulvane was mentioned, but it's far from alone. We've got others that would take us out of county under mutual aid and automatic aid, and that's going back to the original criteria I've placed here, trying to keep this community safe at as reasonable a cost as possible. And in my opinion, that's how we got here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you again. I'd like to, Marcy Gregory, you mentioned earlier you're willing to take a question. Would you mind doing that still? Okay. And I appreciate your sentiment. You said some nice things. I agree with the things you said, but I have a question for you, because you are, let's be clear, you are the mayor of the city of Goddard.
That's correct.
In fact, you are also hoping to be on the Sedgwick County Commission at some point, which means you'd be in this position. So
yes.
I think you have a perspective that I'd like to understand better. Do you have any solutions that you're offering? Because you talked about providing pay increases, and I love the idea. But
yes,
what's your solution to this? Are you advocating for a tax increase, or what are you? How are you going to solve the problem?
Well, that's Commissioner Norton and Commissioner Unruh said that would possibly be a consideration. I believe your fact-finding study actually pointed out a couple of other alternatives. I think mention of a 911 charge. I'm drawing a blank. It's been a while since I've read that, but I thought she offered 2 or 3 different options, and I think those should all be on the table for consideration.
Just for clarity, do you understand that the fire district is a separate governing body? In other words,
yes,
we can't tax people across the county and provide revenue to the fire district specifically, because it's a different governing body. It's a different jurisdiction. So
yes. Yes.
Okay. I guess I'm just so right now, other than the 911 potential tax, or
I'm saying that I believe that there are other options, but that there excuse me, there were at least 2 or 3 that were brought up in that. And again, a mill levy increase is a possible option of one of several. Again, I don't think it's been thought through maybe well enough.
So would you prefer that? That you would want us? Is that what you would like us to do today?
Again, I'm not in the capacity. I would want to be able to have conversations with everyone to make the best decision for the entire population.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You may have a seat. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
input on that. Dave Thomas, would you be willing to... Dave Thompson, would you mind answering a couple of questions for me, please? Commissioner Ranzau made a point a minute ago. I'd like to have you speak to confirm or deny. Were you, in fact, brought into Sedgwick County Fire as a part-timer?
I was. In 1996, I was a part-time employee called Extra Board. We were hired for $7.99 an hour with no benefits, no retirement, and that was our only way to get hired as a full-time employee of Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1 under a complete separate management group then and different governing body than we have today.
Okay. Again, I don't know the answer to this question, but I calculate some numbers. Maybe my numbers are incorrect, but how many firefighters do we have actually serving as firefighters within Sedgwick County? Looking at all departments. Do you have any idea about how many firefighters we have in Sedgwick County total?
Sedgwick County Fire District 1 or
No,
total?
the entire county, every Wichita included, and others.
I can give you a roundabout number between Wichita and us as far as department size.
Sure.
I wouldn't be able to give you a volunteer status because in the areas in which I serve, 9 times out of 10 they don't respond.
Okay, so I have a number in my head, but what number do you think?
I couldn't even go there because I don't train with them, I don't see them, and they don't respond to most of the alarms that I go on in the county.
It's interesting that you say you don't train with them. When you show up to a fire call, do you not work with the city of Wichita and other fire departments?
Again, I asked for clarification. I can give you City of Wichita, but volunteer organizations, I don't have their numbers.
But Sedgwick County responds to a fire call, and alongside of them is the Derby Fire Department, for example,
Correct.
or the Mulvane Fire Department,
correct,
or the Wichita Fire Department.
Correct.
Those firefighters are qualified firefighters. Do you feel that they're putting you Sedgwick County firefighters at risk in any way?
Between the entities you just described and that we respond with and train with? Absolutely not.
Okay, and I would not think so as well. I think that there are very good firefighters across the county, and I want to make sure, I want a clarity there. I believe there's around 400 firefighters across this county. Maybe my numbers are incorrect, but that's quick calculations, counting that number of firefighters that work inside the city of Wichita, plus the other departments across the county. I believe there's around 400 or so. Would you agree with that number approximately?
I would say you're low.
I'm a little low?
Yes.
Okay. And, all right, that's important because, again, one of the contentions I've heard is that we've got to train firefighters if they want to be part-time in our department. We have to provide training as if they've never been a firefighter. And I guess I would wonder whether or not those other firefighters, roughly 260, 280 firefighters across the county would want to have opportunities to fill some of those part-time positions should that become available.
I think on a philosophical note, you've touched on something, but I think on a deeper level, you haven't hit the core. And that has to do with how do you mitigate the issues that go around part-timers or volunteers? How do you mandate them to work? How do you discipline them when they violate policies, procedures, guidelines, or laws? Those are huge items that we deal with in public safety every day. And you can't mandate a volunteer to do anything. You can't even have them shave their face.
My final question for you is, have we had any firefighters that have left Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1 and moved over, say, to Derby or to Wichita? Can you please speak to how many folks have we had that have done that and over what period of time?
I can give you rough estimates, but I know names, I know faces, but time frame, it shrinks on me because I've been here 20 years.
It's an important point because, again, the arguments are that we've got a huge, the sheriff's talking about lateral transfers.
Correct.
That the Chief Ramsey's potentially going to open up lateral transfers, and he's concerned about losing some of his staff to just jump over to Wichita because of the pay structure being so much different. So it's an important point to note. Again, I don't think the sheriff actually presented any data to say it's happened up to this point, but he's concerned about the future. So right now, do we have? You said it has happened. Can you please describe it to the best of your knowledge? How many folks and over what period of time has this happened?
I would tell you probably in the last 5 years, close to one a year. If I were to give you an estimate on an average, Now the average is being talked about going up, and I can tell you in conversation that I've had with Matt Schulte, who's the president of Local 135, behind Chief Ramsey possibly doing the open door lateral transfer, I'm actually in Matt's ear saying, I hope your fire chief does the same, because I've got some very competent and qualified young men and women that would like that possibility to come to your department as things like this come out of our commission.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Let me clarify. So you, as the president of the union, are actively encouraging a situation that would lead to firefighters going from the fire district to the Wichita Fire Department?
I'm actively advising our members as they come and ask about the future of the fire district I'm answering
clarify.
your question.
I'm asking, you went to the firefighter union of the Wichita, and you said you hope you do the same thing.
If you have the ability, if Wichita Fire has the same ability.
Did you say that?
If Wichita Fire has the
I
same
don't have
ability.
any other questions for you. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Thompson, you may have a seat, please.
Thanks.
Thank you. Just another couple of comments I'll make. This issue of part-time has been a discussion that we've had since I've been here. In fact, I think Mr. Thompson and I have actually spoke in my office about the issue of part-time firefighters when I first came here. This has been a topic that's been in front of the commission for a long time. And one of the challenges, of course, is we need a structural solution. We don't have a long-term solution to the insolvency of this fire district. And approving this contract today actually makes our situation worse, because we're committing more funds to something that's actually already upside down. And so we need a structural solution. And I looked at the fire union for legitimate legal solutions, and so far they've not presented something that actually is agreeable to our Mike North, our expert attorney from the Sedgwick County governing body, who's presented his opinion that the proposals given to us so far are not legitimate legal things that we can do. And so we've got a challenge in trying to find a structural solution to an insolvent fire district. And so far, neither side has actually found an answer to the question. Part-time firefighters, in my opinion, is part of the answer. It's been something that we've talked about over the last year. It's continuing to come up over and over again. So the idea that this is something that is brand new today, I think, is simply false. I'll recognize Commissioner Ranzo for just a moment.
Just when you're done.
Okay, I'll wait for just a moment here. Mr. Curran has pointed out that our revenues are going up very slowly, and so what we have right now is a situation where the fire district continues to take on more and more responsibility. We continue to spend a lot of time inside the city of Wichita. We've actually placed our fire stations in such a place according to call volume, but not necessarily geographically, so that we can reach the people with the calls, majority of the calls, as fast as possible, which sounds like a great idea, but the reality is we're spending an awful lot of time inside the city of Wichita, and they don't actually provide funds to the fire district. It's obviously a debate where we should place fire stations, but we've already invested many millions of dollars to provide the fantastic fire stations, but most of them are close to urban centers, especially the city of Wichita. And so we've got a tremendous obligation and responsibility, and we don't have a tax base to support it. So it's a structural challenge, and it's not going to be easy to solve. And so down the road, we're going to have to make some very hard decisions. Potentially a mill levy increase, which I don't think I could ever support at this point, and I don't see me doing that in the future. Other solutions are going to be very difficult in terms of manpower and stations and where they are located and whether they can continue to exist and levels of manning. Who knows where this is going to go? We've got to find some structural solutions to the problem, and I think part-time help, especially if they've got skills already, has got to be part of the answer. Let me point out that our EMS services regularly uses part-time EMTs. And so I don't think anybody is making arguments that we don't have good quality first responder services from our EMS system, even though they utilize part-timers right now. So again, I think part-time has got to be part of the solution. Might I also say, I appreciate Commissioner Norton. He made some really nice comments, but I will tell you that I'm sorry to say that he's not really been an active participant in the discussions in our executive sessions regarding these issues. I think every commissioner has given a much opinion about ways to solve this problem, and Commissioner Norton has been mostly silent. And so I wanted to just point that out, because it's easy to sit back and be critical and not provide ideas on how to solve the problem. So I know this is a very complex issue today, and it's not easy to talk about it, not easy to come to a solution or to a conclusion. I wanted to make that clear, because it's easy to sit back and be critical. It's hard to come up with solutions, and someone needs to solve the problem. Someone needs to lead, and so I wanted to make that point. I don't have anything else to say. Commissioner Ranzau?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very disappointed that we are at the point where we are here today. As I've said earlier, for the last several years, I have stressed that we need to address the long-term issues of the fire district. We've not done that, and I don't think that this contract does it either, as I've already said. I am supportive of the part-time language and the volunteer, but that's really overall a small issue. It's not going to solve, and let's make this very clear, I'm not saying, or anyone up here is saying, that some of this language on part-timers is going to solve the financial issues as we go forward. It's not. It just gives the chief more flexibility should he deem it appropriate or necessary and fiscally responsible. That being said, we've got to do something. We could keep negotiating, but I don't believe the leadership of the fire unions is interested in reaching a fiscally responsible solution. We've offered many proposals, none of which have been voted on by the union members. We've offered alternatives, everything we want to do as far as part-timers or anything that's seen as a help is bad-mouthed. We recently did an agreement with the city of Wichita to work at the Regional Fire Training Center. That idea was bad-mouthed by union leadership. And there was actually a post on Facebook that said they did not support the partnership. That is unconscionable, to say that they don't support a partnership with the city of Wichita to train our firefighters together. And to pretend there's not an issue is deceitful. And now we have union leadership admitting that they're actively working with leadership of another union to do things that would bring harm to the district. I think all of these things in concert demonstrate that the union leadership has not negotiated in good faith. And I don't think they would if we postpone this another week, month, or several months. And it's very disappointing. You can't deny the reality of the fiscal issues in the fire district. Something's going to have to change, and I would hope that we could partner in some solutions to this. To this point, there's been reluctance on the part of the fire district or fire union leadership. I hope that changes. But I think we need to solve this, at least temporarily, and provide some certainty for the next year or two as we continue to address these very difficult issues. And Commissioner Howell is right. It's easy to go out in the media and say a bunch of stuff, most of which is false or misleading, knowing you're not going to be fact-checked on it. It's very different to sit down and have to govern and make these difficult decisions and take into account all people's opinions out there. With that, I'm going to reluctantly make the motion that we adopt the proposed memorandum of agreement as presented.
Mr. Chairman, we're referring to it as a contract rather than a memorandum of agreement.
So then I'll say, I'll modify that I make a motion that we adopt the proposed contract as presented.
All right. Other commissioners' comments? Seeing none, I guess I will go ahead and reluctantly second the motion. Again, I say that because I don't believe there's any good answer. No matter what we do, it's going to be criticized. It's not comfortable to do so, but somebody needs to govern. Somebody needs to pass a contract. It's time for us to move forward. And this gives us 2 years, I guess, to work out structural solutions, which I have no doubt will continue to work. So I'll make that second. Commissioner Peterjohn.
Well, I'll just point out, I mean, my understanding of what we have before us, this will cover a period of time from January 1, 2016 through December 31, 2017. So it's a 2-year agreement, but we're already, for all intents and purposes, a year and a half into the, I mean, it's going to cover basically a year and a half. We're already almost 6 months in. So in terms of the duration of the agreement, the idea that we're going to basically a 1 year, what was proposed to us would be basically we'd be in perpetual negotiation, and I don't think that's helpful or productive at this point. And so I find myself in the same situation some of my colleagues have described. So I know I've heard the argument in terms of we should have a 6-month agreement, in effect is what we're talking about going forward, but I think a 1.5 year agreement to December 31st, 2017 is a better time frame. And frankly, we've had some discussions, at least I have, about going out to 3 years, and I think that's, or 2.5 years, and that would be too long. And so the duration of this agreement, I want to get that on the record. It's effectively about a year, a little over a 1.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Peterjohn. Any other comments? Commissioner Norton.
I'll make a substitute motion that we enter into this contract with the caveat that it's 1 year, and that we eliminate Articles 17 and 17A from the contract, and that will give us 6 months to negotiate. I would make that as a motion.
So we have a substitute motion to accept the contract with the exceptions of and make it a 1 year contract and delete Articles 17 and 17A. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
I just would like a clarification since we're going to draft that. Commissioner, do you want us to still leave the compensation for 2016 as we've put it and just simply not do the 2017?
Yes.
All right.
We have a motion, a substitute motion.
For purposes of discussion, I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Commissioner Ranzau.
I think that would put us in, really wouldn't change a whole lot. We'd continue to be negotiating with leadership that I think is not interested in negotiating in true faith.
All right, any other discussion?
Beyond that, I think this is a pure political movement just to make so a particular commissioner can say he had an alternative, and I'm very disappointed in some of the things that were done here today. To politicize an important issue like this in the manner that's happened here today is very disappointing.
All right, further discussion from commissioners? I will say I will not support the motion. I think we've talked about this. I don't know when we started negotiations, but it's been a very long time. We've given at least 4 opportunities for the fire union to provide information to the firefighters and asking them for feedback. We've received none. It's been a tremendously difficult process to get to this point. I think we need some time to find some structural solutions to the fire district. And I think just to pass a 1 year contract, in my opinion, doesn't solve anything. We need some time to solve it structurally. And so a 1.5 year moratorium, if you will, between now and then when the next contract needs to be signed, I think gives us that opportunity. So I can't support the substitute motion. Commissioner Peterjohn?
I'll stand by my comments in terms of this would basically be a 6-month agreement, and my earlier comments in terms of duration stand, so I won't be supporting either. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, we have a substitute motion, and if we're ready, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
No.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
No.
Commissioner Ranzau?
No.
Chairman Howell?
No. All right, we're back on the original motion. Any other discussion? Is everyone clear what the motion is? All right. Seeing no comments or questions from commissioners, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
No.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. All right, thank you. If I'm correct, that takes us to the end of the Fire District agenda. And with that, I would like to adjourn the meeting of the governing body of Fire District Number 1 and call back to order the regular business meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Legislative issues?
Commissioners, do we have any issues for legislative this week? All right. Seeing none. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Other?
Commissioners, any comments for other today? Commissioner Peterjohn.
Well, I'm just going to throw out some comments in terms of the River Festival. It's been a wonderful event, and there was some controversy about moving the date, but considering what the weather would have been like if we'd held this 3 weeks ago compared to this week, I'm glad they're holding it in this first week in June instead of in May. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Peterjohn. Any other comments for other? Okay, seeing none. Manager, I don't think we have a need for an executive session today. Counselor? Okay. Seeing that, any final comments from commissioners or anyone before we adjourn? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned.
Production and broadcast costs for Sedgwick County Commission meetings have been underwritten by Sedgwick County. KPTS welcomes comments from the public on its broadcast of the County Commission hearings.